Stop number 4 of the East Kentucky Tournament Trail, Yatesville Lake. Giant, holy cow. First stop on a local pond this season, Yatesville Lake, the small local lake, traditionally fishes pretty good in the springtime. However, the lake does get a ton of pressure. Every spring, there are about a handful of days when you can go out and catch fish stacked up, moving to and from beds. And that's what we did on this trip. Timing lines up for us perfect, absolutely perfect on this day. And if you're accustomed to fishing a high-pressured lake like Yatesville Lake, I think you'll appreciate some of the information contained in this video, so be sure to stay tuned. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to turn on notifications. Got a ton of content coming up for you very soon.
345 is way in. No fish inside the buoy.
You know, this was an incredible day. I'll be honest, I had a rough year on Yatesville in 2020. Honestly, didn't catch very many keepers. Didn't go down there a lot. I felt like the pressure had finally gotten the best of it. So I wasn't looking forward to this event. On Friday, I told Mike I was sleeping in, wasn't going full with Yatesville, we would just skip this event. We ended up going, and I'll be honest, I don't regret it because it renewed my hope for Yatesville Lake. But I think the lake is fishing a little different in 2021 than it did 5-6 years ago, but there's still a bunch of quality fish in the lake. It just sets up a little different. First things first. All right, worst kept secret in Eastern Kentucky, yes, we were throwing the young Flash Mob Jr. Good luck finding some of these locally right now, because trust me and everybody else have bottomed up. Tackle's been hard to find this year after COVID.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Go, baby.
But I'll give you a tip. If you head over to learnet.com, you can still pick up the Flash Mob Jr., but you have to buy it in the kit with the little grubs. So yes, we've been buying these things up like toilet paper because they actually do catch a ton of bass, and they catch the biggest bass in the lake. So what makes the Flash Mob Jr. to me appealing? Well, number one, it's just a little smaller, so you can throw it on a little lighter gear than what you would have to throw on some of the really big rigs that you've seen in the past. So to me, what makes the Flash Mob Jr. most appealing is the rig itself is a little smaller, so you can use just a little lighter gear. You don't have to necessarily have the 3,000 or the 4,000 size reels. You know, you can get away with throwing that Flash Mob on a regular bait caster, maybe a little more beefed up bait caster, but at the same time, you can throw that on some lighter gear. So I fish the Flash Mob Jr. basically like a big spinnerbait, okay? I'm gonna fish that in timber, I'm gonna fish that at depth, and really, any way that you fish a spinnerbait, I think this thing can be effective. All right, in Kentucky, we're allowed 5 hooks, so I've got 5 hooks on this rig. And you know, it's wildly effective for those few days every spring when the timing sets up just like it did on this day. So one of the pieces of advice that I would give you with swim baits or with the rig, you don't traditionally think of that as a stained or dirty water bait. However, I will tell you some of your biggest bites, as you will see in this video and possibly some of the ones coming up, some of your biggest bites will come in dirty or stained water on this bait. Again, we're just fishing it like a big spinner bait. If anything, one of the adjustments you can make, you could use a louder color swim bait, or you could swap out some bigger blades on the flash mob, or just go to a bigger rig altogether and maybe give that thing a little more flash. But you'll be surprised how well this thing performs in stained and dirty water. All right, so let's talk gear. I started throwing a rig in 2013, and honestly, I've blown up a lot of reels in that time. Just because you're throwing this on 50 to 65 pound braid, number one, the line doesn't have a lot of flex. So when you do have a backlash or a kink, something that stops that thing dead in the air, when you're trying to throw that thing out there, it can be rough on the gears in that reel. So you need to make sure you have the appropriate setup. First of all, I've got a iRod from the iRod Genesis here. It's the Bailey Swim, and it's the 8-foot rod, got the big handle, so I can really put that lure out there. I think that's one of the keys when you're fishing a glide bait or fishing an Alabama rig, is to have that rod set up that allows you to throw that thing across the lake. And I really feel like I can do that. I can put it out there and make that cast before those fish are able to spot me or my boat. In a high pressured situation on a lake that gets a ton of pressure like Yatesville Lake, that can be critical to your success as an angler. I'm throwing this with a Corrado DC, okay? I've got it on a 6.2 to 1, all right? I'll never forget when I first picked up the Alabama rigs in Guntersville back in 2013. I bought one of the first big rigs, I don't know, it was probably 40, 50 bucks. Bought a package of Shadowlicious swim baits, go out, I'm throwing it on mono. First cast, let it go, and the lure keeps going, right? Breaks the line, 75 bucks chucked into the lake. Thought my dad was gonna have a heart attack that I'd just thrown $75 into the lake. But nonetheless, hopefully some of these tips can save you some trouble as you learn to throw the Young Flash Mob Jr. So the other key for us this spring is this Garmin LiveScope. Forward-facing sonar has been an incredible innovation in bass fishing. You have so much data when you're up fishing now versus any time in history. And honestly, the thing that LiveScope has done for me most is it has given me the ability to watch fish interact with a lure that I may not catch. Ordinarily I would never see that fish, but with LiveScope, and I've been using it in perspective mode, I love the LiveScope mode too, and honestly the ideal setup for me would be one of both on the front deck, and that's what I hope to go to in 2022. But when I can see that fish react to that lure, or maybe swipe and miss, I can cast again. Maybe that fish just swims with it. Maybe it seems a lot less aggressive. Then I can adjust to another lure, say a jerkbait, because it doesn't necessarily want to chase that rig. And you can adjust your presentation accordingly. If you watch my other videos at Guntersville, you can see us using LiveScope then. I'll put that up in the cards. Check that video out if you haven't. So have you seen fish interact with your lures via LiveScope? If you have, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. So in my opinion, there are a couple things that you can do to help you be way more successful as a bass fisherman. So let's talk about this scenario this weekend on Yatesville Lake. Like I said before, Yatesville is a small local pond. It gets a ton of pressure from Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio. There's a ton of derbies every Saturday on this lake. So one of the things that I do is I try to be different. I don't want to go throw on this weekend. Everybody was up on the bank, throwing that floating worm 8 foot out perpendicular to the bank. And if everybody else is doing that, I'm not gonna do that. So on this weekend, I was the only person on the lake throwing the flash mob. What ended up being the key for us later in the day was determining that most of those fish were out on the points. We were catching post-spawners and pre-spawners coming to and from the beds. All of our local lakes have huge shad populations. And I think one of the things that the bass have done is adjust their behavior in terms of how that forage lives and where it lives its life. So one of the things that I like when I go out bass fishing locally, number one is wind, all right? I love a wind-fed hollow. If the wind's feeding a hollow, you can guarantee those big balls of shad are gonna be up in that cove. And again, that's where LiveScope's gonna come in and make you more successful, because you can see that shad that you can't always see with your eyes. And the one thing that I know for sure about bass locally, except when they're on the beds, is they are usually oriented in some way with those shad.
A heron? One of them heron.
Like I said, first tip, don't fish the way everybody else is. Second tip, and maybe the most critical, regardless of how you fish, what you're throwing, make a different cast than everybody else. The things that I do, knowing that a fish probably sees that perpendicular cast, that lure coming off the bank every time, you know, we'll throw it a 45 a lot. We'll go put our boat against the bank and throw out a lot. You know, so try to put your cast at a different angle than maybe everybody else, and you'll be surprised how often that will draw a bite from some of those bigger bass. Like I said, you know, midday we really zeroed in on these fish. We really felt like we could just run a point pattern and pick up the bites that we need. We ran out of time though, being that it was midday before we really kind of identified the location. I got that fifth bite with about 15 minutes left in the day. You can see I miss it here. All I could see was her mouth, you know, open, looked like it was as big as my hand. She ate it almost right at the boat, but she didn't get it. She just, you know, she hit it short. And that's one thing sometimes about the clear water is that they get too good of a look at that lure and it causes those short strikes. But nonetheless, we didn't need that fifth fish. 4 fish got it done, 1377, good enough for the win, retain our spot in the Angler of the Year points on the East Kentucky Tournament Trail. You know, gonna head back out Monday with my good buddy Chris Ferguson. I'm excited. I've never been on the boat with Chris. He's got a brand new Vexus and it is sweet. I can't wait to go out and you know, put it to work, see if we can repeat this bag, see what we can do. You know, Chris and Kyle Calhoun are as good as any local fisherman, you know, and they've proven that over the last couple of years. So I just can't wait to get out with Chris and see if we can repeat this bag. Casting for Kids is coming up next weekend. Casting's just an incredible event that Chris puts together. A ton of time every year devotes to do some great things for the kids here in the area, helping them get back and forth to the Shriners Hospital. So be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications so that you don't miss that upload.
I think it's fine.
That's fine. Not 7.
Good job, Jerry. Thank you.
Good job, Jerry.
83, Jerry. It ain't even close.
No, I don't even know if that'll go 4 pounds.
370.
That's what I couldn't figure out why they busted on the back. You know, Mike and I had a great day, 1377 for the win on only 4 fish on what's been a tough Yatesville lake in the last couple years. So my challenge to you, get out on Yatesville, try something different, make those different casts, and let me know how it works out for you. Thanks for watching.
1377.
You know, the weather is as good for bass fishing in the country right now as it will be all year. So have a great weekend, get out, go fishing, take a kid fishing, keep your line wet and good things will happen. Tight lines, guys.